inside stays warm. Who'll stick by the dad with lots of charm? Insights are sharp and data's tight. The lens already and the joke's online. Hot takes, real talk, keeping it true. From high school halls to podcast cues, live a little, learn a lot. Turn it up, this show is hot. Grab your coffee and let's get into it. No filter, no fluff, just real talk. Let's do it. Ready or not, here we go. It's time for Muffman to start the show.
Welcome to Hot Takes with the Murph Man. I am the Murph Man, and I'm going solo today. Connor wasn't able to make it. This is a pre-recorded show, so if you email us in, we will not answer. But I want you to take the message down, the email, and if you're interested in emailing us, message us, and we can definitely reply to you. We can do that with no problem. Now, before we go on and we get too busy, I want to go over some of our little quick rules that we have to go over. I am the Murph Man. This is my show. I am not an expert. I'm talking about my experiences, and both in life and at work. So I have actually been through a lot of different things, and I have tried a lot of this. So I want to share it with everybody so we can, talk about it. But I'm not an expert. If you have any questions, consult the experts. That is not me. But real quick, let's talk about something that's going on around the world. It's not so much in your world, but in mine. I'm part of stream915.com. We actually have a studio opening here in town for content creators. And it's one of those things that as you start a podcast, as you start an online radio station, it's really hard to know what you want to do with your life, right? And how to do it and whatnot. So I will tell you, one of the things that we're doing is we created a studio that's made for content creators here in town. And I'm also going to be doing a different podcast there called Vibes in the 915, which is basically a podcast about El Paso, specifically about El Paso. It's not scripted. It's real TV. People will come by and see us at the mall. We're at the Shops at Solana, 750 Sunland Park. So if you guys are interested in checking us out, please stop by over there. We're definitely going to be there. But for those of you who are out of town, check us out on stream915.com, and you'll be able to see our live stream. Replays are going to cost you. You got to pay to replay. But if you catch us live, you can get us free. I think it's time we ignite the fuse.
Your network is your net worth. Today we are talking about building your college network, making connections that count. Networking isn't just for job fairs. It's about building relationships that support your growth, learning, and future opportunities. The fuse is lit. Murph Man, take the mic.
I've said this repeatedly so many times over the last few months that we've been doing the podcast. You go to college to network and make friends that you're going to be able to network with once you get out of college. You think about it, you have what you call a cohort. You all enter school at the same moment. And then before you know it, you graduate together and go get jobs somewhere. And before you know it, you'll be reaching out to each other and asking for each other for help. And that's the whole point of having a network. I can tell you when I went to my bachelor's program, I was in the Army. I ETS, I got out of the Army, finished on my degree. I got out in March, finished in June. And I have not talked to any of those people ever because it was one of those transitional programs where people come and go. And what I did do, however, was in my master's program where I would go every weekend with people, right? I would make friends. I would travel with them. We'd talk for 3.5 hours on the way there, 3.5 hours on the way back, have dinner together. We'd practice. We'd study together. We would go out and party together. We'd go to the club. We'd go dancing. We'd study. We did all of that. And to this day, I talked to several of those people. Now, what's funny is when I first met them, they were teachers trying to become school counselors. Now they're school counselors that have become associate superintendents or higher. And it's really funny because a lot of the people that I know at the higher levels of the districts here in town all started with me, and I was like, God, had I started at at the school like I wanted to, I probably would have been up there myself. Maybe not. You never know, right? But I did counseling enough for me. I'm sort of done with that. That's a chapter of my life I put behind me after my wife passed away from cancer. I told myself I can never really do counseling again. So I really don't. And, but another thing that was funny was some of the teachers that I was working with over there got caught up in a scandal here in town. And it made the news like across the country. It was horrible. They were cheating. For example, STAR testing started in 10th grade. They would have a kid and classify him as a ninth grader. And then after the testing was done, right, the requirement, they moved them to 11. So they were able to bypass the system that way. That was one thing that they did that, got them arrested. And there's also some information out there about how it actually happened, and it didn't come out the way it was supposed to. That is one of those things that I don't know the truth. I do know a lot of people were arrested, and, they were people I knew. So, there's good and bad of networking. You never know who you're going to have friends with. You never know who you're going to associate with. So keep that in mind, because sometimes you want to keep those people that are important to you. All right. But let's get to the burning question for today.
Today's burning question is, which of the following is the most effective way to build a meaningful network? A. Collect as many business cards as possible. B. Find one person whose work you genuinely admire and focus on asking 2 thoughtful questions. C. Only talk to people who work in your exact major. D. Add everyone you meet on LinkedIn without a note. The options are sizzling. Murphman, what is the real story?
But it's not really the purpose of actually going out there and having um, a specific reason to reach out to that person. So yeah, collect business cards. That's all fine and dandy, but make sure you get the ones who you really want to meet. But that's not the answer. You also want to find one person whose work you genuinely admire and focus on asking 2 thoughtful questions. C is only talk to people who work in your exact major. And D, add everyone you meet on LinkedIn without a note. Well, first off, only talk to people who are in your exact major. That's a little stupid. You want to make friends with everybody. You want to network with as many people as you can. You don't want to be the only ones there. Okay. You have to make friends with other people outside of your network, because you never know who's going to cross paths with you. And of course, add everyone on LinkedIn. That's a technology we can all use. And I want you to keep that in mind. But the answer today is B. Find one person whose work you genuinely admire and focus on asking 2 thoughtful questions. We're going to go ahead and talk about those in a little bit in another segment. But right now, I want to tell you, we're going to hear today's hot take.
Today's hot take is this. If you think you're too busy to connect with people outside your major, you've already decided to cap your career at your current internship. We focus on depth over breadth with thoughtful informational interviews and follow-up etiquette. The flames are high on this one. Murphman, lead the talk.
Like I was just saying, You do not want to limit yourself to your major. You want to talk to people outside your major. Okay. Don't cap yourself or don't cap your career with what you have right now. You always want to make new friends. You always want to make more network connections. You want to do all of that. And why is that important? Well, as you go on here in life, you go to college, you make friends. A good example is engineering. You might meet someone who's actually a math major and they can help you with your math homework. You know, you never know how that's going to help you. You know, if you're going to join a fraternity or sorority or something like that, definitely look into it because you really never know what's out there until you actually try to see what's out there, until you actually try and go out there and make new friends. So keep that in mind. That's something that we have to do. And we also want to focus on depth over breadth. Yeah, you can have a million friends. That doesn't mean you have a million friends, right? You can have a million contacts. Doesn't mean you're going to reach out to every one of those contacts. So think about that as you sit here and contemplate, what do you want to do? Make friends, make good friends, make great friends, and you'll see that you'll be able to do a lot more with them if you really focus on being selective. But for now, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murph Man will return after these messages.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
According to the VA's suicide data report, an average of 22 veterans die by suicide every single day. This figure is a sobering reality and a crisis that demands our immediate attention and compassion. We must recognize and address the fact that every 24 hours, 22 veterans are losing their lives to suicide. The war doesn't always end when our veterans come home. The invisible wounds they carry, wounds that are real and heavy, require continuous support. No veteran should have to carry this burden alone. Many veterans experience stress and disconnection as they navigate life after service. But there is hope, there is help, and you are not alone in this fight. There's a vibrant community ready to support you, offering friendship, understanding, and shared experiences. You served your country, now let us serve you. Don't fight the toughest battle in silence. Your mission now is to reach out. Dial 988, then press 1. Text them at 838255. The Veterans Crisis Line is available 24/7. Every day, we save lives. Your life is invaluable, and your service is honored. Let's work together to make 22-0 again. No veteran should face their struggles alone. Together, we can ensure every veteran finds the support and hope they deserve.
He gets help, but he still feels off. Sees an ad on the TV about a dog batting said, "This is a man's best friend." Whoa, so he goes one day and he picks it up. Never thought a dog could bring so much love and put a smile on his face. But he's finally found a saving grace. He needs help, but he don't know the path to take or the way to go to be free. Put his mind at ease. We will help, 'cause we can't stand to see a soldier go to God by their own hands. We will do everything we can to make 22-0 again.
Before we get back to the show, I'd like to pause for something that matters. I was inspired by Ryan Spencer's song, Make 22-0 Again. I'd like to remind you that help is always available 24/7, 365. If you ever feel you need support or are in crisis, call 988 and press 1 or text 838255. There will always be someone ready to listen. Remember, you are not alone.
That's right. You are not alone. Get help. And if you think someone might be suicidal, ask them if they are. It's not going to cause them to become suicidal. It's going to let them have a chance to actually ask for help. So you want to always ask if you think someone is not doing too well. All right. Well, back to the show. And we talked about our hot take about you want to make friends, but you want to make sure they're outside of your network, outside of your major. You want to focus on good relationships, not just a basic relationship. You want to have a lot of friends, okay? But before we dig in, I want to go over some of the terms that we're going to be talking about in our segment called Lay Down the Coals.
You won't believe what happened when I tried to prove myself wrong. Before we dig in, let's clarify some of the key terms while laying down the coals. Networking, building and maintaining relationships that offer mutual value, support, and advice. Informational interview, a low-pressure conversation to learn about someone's experience in a field you admire. Follow-up etiquette, the crucial practice of staying in touch after an interaction, often with a thank you note. The foundation is laid, Murph Man. Build the story.
Well, networking, we've talked about this. Building and maintaining relationships is what you want to do while you're in school. All right. You want to build and maintain them. You don't want to just build them and not keep them in touch. You want to reach out to them and keep the contact going. But remember, you want relationships that offer mutual value, meaning both of you benefit from that, not just one way. You want to make sure they can support you and you can support them. Make sure they can give you advice so you can give them advice. I'll tell you right now, that's the biggest thing is networking. I'm telling you right now, just network. Take advantage of all those friendships, okay? Informational interview is a low-pressure conversation to learn about someone's experience in a field you admire. They make kids do this. Go talk to someone in the field and see what they think, right? Well, I'm in the field of teaching, and when someone comes up to me and says, "Why are you a teacher?" It makes me think about why am I a teacher? And it's something in my core value where I really love sharing information. That's sort of what we're doing here, right? And that became my podcast. I'm teaching here, so to speak. And why is that important? Well, when someone comes and talks to me and says, "Why are you a teacher?" It's not something where I always wanted to be a teacher. I grew up wanting to be a teacher. It was nothing like that. It was literally someone on the network, which we talked about, right, who was a college professor. She's like, "Hey, we're looking for some part-timers. If you're interested, come on over." So I did, and I went for my job interview. Got the job, and I've been teaching there 25 years. Why is that important? Well, I teach because I love sharing information. And when I teach online, it's really hard for me to share specific information, but I give out my cell number and my email to all my students. They can reach out to me anytime, and they can talk about psychology and anything about psychology. It doesn't have to be exactly what we're talking about today. But anytime they have a question, I encourage them to reach out to me. And a few of them actually have reached out to me. And it's funny because those students still reach out to me even after the semester's over. Sometimes a year or two later, they're teaching. I had a teacher who actually worked at an elementary school with me. And she comes up to me and she's like, "You're Mr. Murphy." I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "I was one of your students." And I was a clerk at the time. I wasn't a teacher. And some of the people who were around us were like, "What do you mean he's your teacher?" And she looks at me and she goes, "He's a college professor." And people looked at me like, "You're a clerk. What do you mean you're a college professor?" I said, "Yeah, I'm a college professor. I've been doing that part-time. 25 years now." It was 18 at the time, so you just keep doing it. And last but not least, when you are networking, you want to do that follow-up etiquette. You want that crucial practice of staying in touch after the interaction, often with a thank you note. I'll tell you, when I was working Geeks Who Drink and doing trivia, I had a lady come into the bar and she wanted to hire me to do a party. And I told her, I work with Geeks Who Drink and I can't do that. I said, "Well, what I could do," and I started talking to her and she was like, "Oh yeah, let's do this and everything." I sent her an email telling her, hey, thank you for coming by and talking to me, and gave her some information on what I could do for her. She never even answered me. That's okay. But I know I reached out to her. I know I thanked her for her time. So I know I thanked her for her time, and that's what matters to me. Okay. I'm telling you, you got to do it. I can tell you I've done it. But, sometimes we don't really believe what I say, and that's okay. All right. But you do believe a story from the fire.
In today's story from the fire, Sophia introduced herself to a guest speaker after a campus event. She followed up with a thank you email and asked for an informational interview. That connection led to a summer internship and a mentor for life. Her proactive approach turned a casual encounter into a life-changing opportunity. Experience is the best teacher. Murph Mann, lead the class.
Experience is the best teacher. You guys have no idea how much that is so true. Doing your internship, going out, talking to people, having all of that extracurricular knowledge shared with you is so important. And you want to be able to share information with others. You want them to share information with you. You want to be able to sit there and absorb information from others. Okay? You can't do that if you're not out there trying to make friends, if you're not out there trying to network or anything. So think about that as we go to our next segment called the heat map, which is our call to actions. These are steps you can actually take to start improving on your networking.
The heat map will show you where to focus your efforts for the most impact. Attend office hours, workshops, and campus events, and actually talk to the speakers. Ask for informational interviews to gain insider knowledge. Keep a contact list with notes about your conversations to remember discussion points. Always follow up and respect the reciprocity boundary. The directions are ready. Murph Mann, walk us through them.
All right, so we want to attend office hours, workshops, and campus events to actually talk to the speakers. I can tell you right now, one of my personal hobbies that I've always enjoyed doing is reading about serial killers. And I knew about profiling, and I thought about getting into the FBI, and I realized I'm not an FBI material, so I didn't even bother doing it. But I really got into profiling to the point where I had a situation where my father was murdered in 2004, the 26th of December after Christmas, and I went up there with my brothers, and I started researching what my dad's habits were, and we went out and we tried looking for his car. It was in Denver, which is a huge city. And they were trying to use his debit card. I had access to my dad's bank account, so I was able to see the access. And by the way, I was giving the information to the police as well. And we went out and started looking at the stores where they were using it at. And I told myself, using my profiling, I said, they are in the area where they are. So let's go look for the car in between these two stores. We were looking, and we went until about 11 o'clock at night. And the next morning, we were going to have to drive back from Denver. It was a 10-hour drive. And we were like, we got to go get some rest. Let's go get some rest, and then we can finish what we're going to be doing tomorrow morning. In the morning, the detectives called us. They caught the guys. They were actually using his phone, and I had told them that as well. So when we went to the police station, I told the police officer, hey, how close were you to this intersection? He told me 2 blocks. Why? So, because that's where we stopped last night looking for them. He's like, what do you mean? I said, yeah, we were looking for them. How? What? And it was so funny, He's like, I don't understand how you were able to do that. How were you able to get so close without having any information? I said, well, I have some information, and I used it, and I shared it with you guys as well. You guys had the phone traced and you could make contact, and that's how you guys got the guys. We had our own way of doing things. And one of the things we did do was we knew that they lived in this area because that's where the stores they were shopping at. We knew the car was a turquoise colored car. It was going to be easy to spot. Okay. But when I started talking to the police officer, he thought back to our press conference when we gave a statement to the press. And it was funny because he's like, when you gave your speech, you asked me to review it for you. In the statement, you said, someone knows what happened and your life could be in danger too. He goes, now that I read that again, you knew it was two people. I said, yeah, I did. How? I said, based on, and I talked about the crime scene, based on what I've been told about it, what you guys shared with me, I knew there was two people involved, blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, I was really, really, really into profiling. And after my father passed away, I never really got back into it. It was really hard. It's hard. You start reading about details of someone's death, you think back to your loved ones. So it's been hard for me to do that. But I will tell you, I got a chance to meet John Douglas, who was one of the original profilers with the FBI. Him and Roy Hazelwood started the profiling department for the FBI. And he has some amazing books. If you're interested in profiling, you want to read John Douglas. I'm telling you right now, it's very interesting reading, you guys. And Cyril Recht is a coroner that wrote books also about autopsies and how information is shared. And he goes over a lot of the important cases that we've seen. He even covers JonBenet Ramsey's murder and the autopsy and information of that nature. And if you're interested in it, it's a really good read. I'm telling you right now. You want to look at these authors and look at them. And, Roy Hazelwood and John Douglas are two of my favorite ones to read because it's real. It's not fiction. This is real life that they're talking about. And I asked him, I said, what's more important, being an FBI agent or being a profiler? And he says, well, you're always an FBI agent first. So no matter how good you are at profiling, you need to be an FBI agent first. So I'm not really one to go out and do the exercising and pass the test. So I said, that's not who I am. I think I would have done everything else except for the exercising. If they would have hired fat people, I'd be in the FBI right now. And the other thing is, earlier I mentioned you want to ask two questions. You want to ask the two questions that say, hey, what do I want to ask this person? And one of them was, what is the one skill or trait that you use every day in the role that wasn't listed in a job description? I'm a counselor. Your job is to talk to people. Your job is to answer problems, problem solve, crisis management, anything you can think of, right? But the one thing they don't talk about is documentation. How do you document a session? And it was funny because when I started working, my boss gave me the files. She said, all right, go see some clients, come back, and we'll talk about how you do the notes. So I wrote my notes, and I told her I have a very narrative way of writing. I say, this happened, and then I told the kid this, and then he said this, and mom said this, and, and I make a story. And she's like, okay, that works because it covers all the details. We didn't use what they call a SOAP note. Subjective, objective, assessment, and plan. We did those things, but we didn't actually use the term SOAP. And documentation was probably the hardest thing that we had to keep up with. When you see a counselor, they give you an hour session, they ended at 45 to 50 minutes because that is 10 minutes for documentation. Just so you know, you're not going to get a full hour. You're going to get 50 minutes. That's a full hour for counseling. And you have to document. That's probably the one thing that we learned that's not in a job description. It says you will document, but you don't really understand what that means until you're actually doing it. No amount of schooling will prep you for that. You just have to learn that one on the job. And then the next question you want to ask is the future proofing question. If you were starting in this industry today, what is the first thing you would learn to stay ahead of AI and automation? Well, I'll tell you right now, loving AI, I've been doing a lot of things with AI, and you need to learn it. You need to learn how to do prompting. That's the hardest thing. I have a friend of mine, Javi. You guys have met him. He's been on the show a couple times. Javi is like, you need to use N8N. I'm like, okay. So I went to him. Like, I don't understand this. It's, could I learn it? Yeah. It's more coding related than process related and prompting. Could I learn it? Yeah. Do I want to? Not really. Do I need to? Not really. But you know what? It's still in the back of my mind. So I still have that cybersecurity I want to get trained in. I still have that prompting and AI training that I want to do. So let's see how that goes. But right now, I want to go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we will talk about those pitfalls that you'll have so you can avoid them, and also have your heat shield so that you're prepared for those pitfalls. You don't get burned. And then we have our afterburn section where you can ask yourself reflective questions. And then before you know it, we'll be getting to the digital inferno, where we talk about technology in my favorite section. Stay tuned.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murph Man will return after these messages.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.net.
There's a hotel window, many floors above. What's missing down there is love. Thinking through the smoke that fills my mind. Don't worry, it's not my first time. Adios, amigo. I'm so glad I seen you. It's all inside, heaven and hell. What happened to that angel when he fell? Give it just one try, tell me you don't like it. Be God for a moment, don't despise it. Adios, amigo, I'm so glad I seen you. Step outside and breathe, play a little in the street. Hope it's not me they're sending. Move on from over there, give the kids a little scare. Oh, these fences, they need mending. Adios, amigo, I'm so glad I seen you. You
Before we get back to the show, Hot Takes with the Murph Man streams live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern with Military Broadcast Radio. At mbradio.us, we give veterans a voice and help them launch their own podcasts. Make sure to visit purehottakes.com for all my socials and links to our premium content.
All right, that's right. Military Broadcast Radio. Look us up at mbradio.us. I'll tell you what, when I first started doing the podcast, I did not know what I was doing, okay? And some of you might think I still don't know what I'm doing. But we have a process of how to do a podcast. And I never knew this, right? I thought you just get in here and start talking like a Zoom call. But H-Train, the guy that runs MBR, mentored me, coached me, helped me understand my potential, and said, okay, here's things you got to do. Let's do this. Let's change this. Let's get this equipment started. And then he's the one that encouraged me to start doing my animations, and he's the one that got me to start doing more and more AI stuff. And he really helped me out a lot. And I love the guy. I'm telling you, H-Train's a person that will help you, and he'll bend over backwards for you. And unfortunately, a lot of people take advantage of him. And that's sad, But I will tell you this, MBR, you can find us on Roku, Military Broadcast Radio. Look us up on Saturday. You'll find the Murph Man right there on your Roku TV. So think about that and go out and check out Military Broadcast Radio, mbradio.us, for a schedule of all the other veterans that are doing their shows as well. All right, so we talked about the heat map. I'm sorry. We did not talk about the heat map. Hold on. I am so sorry about this. Give me a sec. Oh, I apologize. We did talk about the heat map. Okay, so let me just go back here. Right. So in the heat map, we talked about those two questions you want to ask. You want to ask the hidden requirement and the future proofing. Okay. But there's pitfalls, and that's where you're going to get burned. So let's talk about some of those pitfalls right now.
It's always about the agenda, okay? Let's talk about where you'll get burned. These are some common pitfalls. Only networking when you need something. Build relationships before the need arises. Keeping your head down, visibility matters, and show up to connect. Treating it like a transaction, be curious, not calculating, to build genuine relationships. The burn risk is high. Murph Man, explain the safety measures.
All right, so networking only when you need something will burn bridges. You don't want to do that. You want to have the ability to ask for help and, have a relationship with a person other than just that moment of crisis. You want to keep your head down, or do you want to keep it up? Well, let me tell you, keeping your head down does nothing for you, except if, they tell people in the military, never volunteer for anything. And I disagree with that, me personally. I will tell you, when I was in AIT, I got to Fort Sam Houston, and I had a drill sergeant there that needed us to redo all of the wall lockers. And they were old World War II metal wall lockers that we hated, right? So they said, we're going to get more better quality. We're going to get bigger ones and all that stuff. So we had to destroy all the metal ones and build all the new ones. And I was there probably about 2.5 weeks, and we got everything done in those 2.5 weeks. The crew that I had, that I was leading everybody and whatnot, we worked hard. We worked hard, but we also didn't have to work late or anything. We worked at our own pace, and we got everything done. Well, fast forward a couple of weeks, school started, and the drill sergeant asked for a volunteer. And then he goes, "Hey, Murphy, you haven't volunteered for anything." And in my head, I was like, yes, OB. Like, really? After all that work you put us through, you're going to say I didn't volunteer? Hell no, I haven't volunteered. He goes, "Who else hasn't volunteered?" And I thought about it. I said, why is he singling me out? I didn't take it personally. I was like, there's a reason he's pointing me out. So I said, okay. I said, well, I know he hasn't. I know, and I picked a few of my close friends that hadn't volunteered either. And they were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I know this drill sergeant already. I got to know him in a few weeks. Well, they made us become casualties for training, and our job was to lay down for 8 hours at a time and be patient, and that's all we had to do. And literally had nothing to do for 3 or 4 days. And we got to go to the OCS course, which is Officer Candidate School, and we got to eat their food, and it was a little mini vacation for us. So afterwards, I told my drill sergeant, "Thank you." Well, I started in September. Come Christmas, well, let me back up a little bit. When I was in the Army the first time going to the reserves, I was in Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and it was my first time away from home, and I had to come home for Christmas, and it was the stupidest thing that I ever did. I said, I'm never going to do that again. Because I got away from the training mentality, I got away from the exercise mentality. It was horrible. So this time around, when I went active duty and I'm in Fort Sam, I was like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to go on vacation. And, and the drill sergeant was like, we want everyone out of here. And I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, but I'm not going. And there was like maybe 5 of us that didn't go. Well, lo and behold, the United States attacks Panama or invades Panama. We didn't attack them. We invaded them to try to get Muammar Gaddafi. And we went to help unload casualties from the helicopters at the hospital. And we were doing that for probably about 2 days, nonstop. I mean, it was, it wasn't the worst casualties I've ever seen, but it wasn't the best either. So we had these situations where we're helping them out and everything. And again, we go back to volunteering, right? After we're done with those 2 days, you got to think about the way the calendar worked. It was a 2 days, and then Christmas was coming. And my drill sergeant said, why don't you go home for the holidays? I said, no, I don't want to use any of my leave or my vacation time. I'm good here. Well, he's like, no, you're leaving. You're going to be out for 5 days. I'm like, but I don't want to use my vacation time. He goes, we're not using your vacation time. He goes, that in the weekends, you get a whole week off as a thank you for helping out with those casualties. So I got on a plane and we came to El Paso, and I spent the holidays here with my family, and I went back, And I've had some really good experiences volunteering for stuff. They have the whole thing about being voluntold, right? They tell you you're going to have to do this whether you want to or not. But I always look at that as a chance to do something different than your normal job. And if it's not adding on to your job, then, you're okay. You're okay with that. But you don't want to worry about that so much. Just volunteer. Get to know people. Do new tasks. You never know what you're going to use down the road. Okay, I can tell you, learning behind the scenes stuff as a counselor, I learned how to do a lot of really good soldiering stuff. And I was able to get the expert medical badge, which is the highest failure rate, including airborne and Army Rangers. Oh my God. The rappellers. I'm trying to think what their name is. I'm drawing a complete blank here. I call them a dope on a rope because they, it's like on the rope. And I know it's not what they're doing. But, well, yeah. So they go to jump school. They become airborne. And I got to look up this. It's going to kill me if I don't know what this is. Aerosol. Geez, I could not remember that to save my life. Yeah. So, expert field medical badge, EFMB, was the hardest course that you can take, has the highest failure rate, 90 to 95%. And I got that. And a lot of people in the medical field are medics. I was not a medic. I was a counselor with some basic medical stuff. So for me to say that I got it, it's a big deal for me. It is a very big deal. And that's one of my best accomplishments, that I got that badge. And I'm happy for that. And again, that was something you had to volunteer for. Well, they would send you automatically, but if you volunteered, then you could volunteer. So some people didn't have to be voluntold. But anyway, also, don't keep your head down. Like I said, you want to go out there and you want to make yourself known, and don't treat it like a transaction. Be curious, not calculating, and build a genuine relationship. You want to go out there and make friends, network, and see what else is out there for you, right? So those are the pitfalls you'll have. Is you only network when you need it, you keep your head down, or you treat it like a transaction. So how are we going to prevent that? Let's talk about that in our heat shields for today.
Your networking heat shield is the reciprocity boundary. Deploy this shield by offer help first. Always offer help or resources before you ask for anything to establish a foundation of mutual value. Protect relationships. Ensure your professional connections are protected from the burnout caused by one-sided taking. Deploy the boundary. Use the reciprocity boundary to set a consistent tone that ensures your relationships are durable and fire-tested. The armor is fire-tested. Murphman, keep the heat away.
So, yeah, think about that. Okay, first off, you want to offer help first, okay? A good example is, you guys know I love Stephen Covey. He had the emotional bank account. You have to put something into the bank, right? A savings account before you can withdraw anything. You can't just open an account and start withdrawing automatically. You have to put stuff into the bank. So you want to make sure you do that. And when you have an emotional bank account, relationship-wise, you want to go in and give things to that relationship. You want to be able to offer help first. Give resources, before you ask for anything. Do something for someone else before you ask them for anything. Most important thing I'm going to teach you guys today is that you got to put into a relationship before you take out. And sometimes you can have a situation like a trust issue develops. That trust issue is you lose your trust on that person. You never, ever will recover from that. So no matter how much money you have in the bank, sometimes you just overdraw and you're not going to be able to recover from that. You also want to protect your relationships and make sure it's not only one-sided to prevent burnout. Again, if you're giving something, then you can take something and it's a fair play for both people. And of course, deploy the boundary. Use the reciprocity boundary to set a consistent tone that ensures your relationships are durable and fire-tested. You want to say, hey, why should I go do all of this if you're not doing it for me? You're just using me. You've heard of those phrases, right? You're just using me. That's not the case. That's how people feel sometimes. It could be true, but it's not about this is the way it's going to be. So think about that as we go to break. And when we come back, we're going to go over some reflective questions that you got to ask yourself. How am I doing this? How am I building relationships? And we'll talk about those in a little bit after the break.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murphman will return after these messages.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Wonder what was going on inside a man in black's mind. Was he missing innocent June was he thinking back when that picture was snapped? Was he wishing he could hold her? Did he know his life was over? The day that camera flashed the last picture of Johnny Cash. The lines of life there on his face show hard living and show grace. A story told in shades of black. Was he whispering a prayer through that cold and lonesome glare? The day the camera flashed the last picture of Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash.
The lines of life there on his face show hard living and show grace. A story told in shades of black. Was he whispering a prayer through that cold and lonesome glare? The day the camera flashed the last picture of Johnny Cash. Wonder what was going on inside the man in black's mind. The day old Marty flashed the last picture of Johnny Cash.
Before we get back to the show, remember that Hot Takes with the Murph Man is partnered with Stream915.com, the place for premium content you won't find in the live podcast or on socials. Visit purehottakes.com to connect on socials and unlock your discount link to Stream915.com.
Remember, tomorrow, Stream 915 Studios is having their grand opening at the Shops of Solana, 750 Sunland Park. We are on the low level of the food court right near the elevator. Come by and check us out. Grand opening at 11. Yours truly will be there, as well as other content partners with Stream 915. And some of us are going to be dressed up in costumes. You want to know what I'm going to dress up as? You got to show up if you want to know. All right. So let's look back on today's episode and ask ourselves those reflecting questions in the afterburn.
In today's Afterburn, here are some questions for you to reflect on. Who's someone I admire, and how can I learn from them? What's one event or office hour I can attend this week? How can I make networking feel authentic to me? The reflection is complete. Murph Man, lead the final turn.
All right. So think about that for a second. Who is someone I admire and how can I learn from them? You know, sometimes it's one of those things where it's hard to approach someone you admire because you never know what's going to happen, right? But you can go and ask for help. Most people are willing to help, okay? Go and ask, hey, can I talk to you for a little bit? Now, I will tell you something. There's a little technique I learned years ago. I'll take a lawyer to lunch. What does that mean? Well, take a lawyer to lunch means you make friends with someone who's a lawyer. Preferably, you make a few different lawyers as friends, right? And then those friends are there. So, like, for example, if you have a question about how am I going to do how am I going to start a business? Okay. Oh, let me get my lawyer who's in business, and hey, let's go to lunch. Well, I'm going to buy lunch for them, and I'm going to have a whole hour of time with them, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but the whole time they're going to be dedicated to helping me. Just like as a counselor, I would go to people and they would take me out to lunch and they would, vent and talk to me. And it's so funny because I still do that to this day. I have friends who will call me and go, "Hey, what are you doing? I need to talk." "Oh, well, where are we going to go?" I can invite them to my house in my living room. I'm like, "No, I want a free meal." Because, hey, it's my time. I want to get something for it. So take a lawyer to lunch is the phrase of, hey, you want to make friends with people who are going to be doing things, right? So the more you network, the more friends you have, the more you can take them out to lunch. Another thing is, what is one event or office hour I can attend this week? Ask yourself, what options do I have? Okay, what can I do? Where can I go? What's going on, right? Those things are so, so important. And last but not least is, how can I make networking feel authentic to me? By being genuine. By being genuine. You don't just go and make friends with people just to make friends. You want to, like, I'll give you an example. When I was in counseling and I was in school and everything, we had people coming back from the school and they would say, "Hey, you're such and such." "Yeah, I've heard about you at school." "Oh, that's cool. What'd you hear? Hopefully good stuff." Haha, whatever, right? "Hey, I heard that you're really good dealing with this specific issue." I said, "Yeah, could I take some time to talk to you about that?" "Of course. It's my favorite subject to talk about when I have time." All right. So again, we go back to take a lawyer to lunch. You want to take me out to eat? You got my undivided attention. All right. Yeah, my undivided attention, and you can ask me anything you want to know about. And that's what makes it so funny is, as you're doing this, you don't realize how many people you can network with. And when you're helping people out, they help you back. And the reciprocity, you guys, is so, so important. You don't understand how important it is. Going out and making those friends is something that you want to really think about, because you're sitting there and you're asking yourself, okay, what am I doing in this relationship? What am I getting out of this? What am I giving to this relationship? Hopefully you're giving more than you're getting. If you're doing everything right, that's the way it should be. Every now and then, it'll be the other way around. They'll give more than you're giving. Don't worry about that. It evens out in the end, But think about those 3 questions in the segment of the Afterburn. And I want to talk about the Digital Inferno, where we're going to talk about some technology things you can use that will help you network. And we'll take a quick break again. We'll be right back.
It's time for a break. Hot Takes with the Murph Man will return after these messages.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.net.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, hear the line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Hey, from the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana, to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His purple heartbeat won't stop, and his 18 17th birthday was the day he was born. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, hear the light. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, stand on the front line. Family is proud but torn, but if you knew him you would understand. He was raised on how to be brave, just to see the flag still wave. And then he came home with only one hand. He's Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, hear the light. For these stars and stripes. March in line, march in line. Hey. Hey.
Before we wrap up, here's a reminder. Hot Takes with the Murph Man streams live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern with Military Broadcast Radio. At mbradio.us, we give veterans a voice and help them launch their own podcasts. Hot Takes with the Murph Man is partnered with Squad 915 Studios, the place for premium content you won't find in the live podcast or on socials. At stream915.com, we are a local platform made for El Paso with content exclusively created by El Pasoans. Check it out. It is free to create an account. Visit purehottakes.com to connect on socials and unlock your discount link to stream915.com.
Stream 915 Studios, you guys. Got to check it out. We have so much content coming out there. We're going to have a grand opening on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow morning at 11. All right. So if you guys want to do that, see you there at the Shasta Solana. We're 750 Solana Park Mall. If you're not in El Paso, check us out on live stream at stream915.com. You can check out the live stream of us actually doing that. All right, go to our socials, stream915.com on any social, and click the link tree, and you'll find the link for everything that you need there. All right, so now we get into the nitty-gritty where I love to talk about the digital inferno. So let's do that real quick.
Everyone tells you to trust your gut, but the truth is, your brain is lazy. Welcome to the Digital Inferno. Here is how technology provides the digital edge for your network. LinkedIn Alumni Tool. Find graduates working in your dream industry and send personalized informational interview requests. Contact Management. Utilize a Google Sheets or Notion template to build and maintain your organized contact list. Targeted Search. Use LinkedIn search filters to find professionals with specific skills to populate your board of advisors. The tech tools are glowing. Murphman, explain the digital edge.
All right, so
it's time for a break. Hot takes with the. It's time for a break.
Sorry, you guys. Give me a
It's
sec.
time for a break. Hot takes. It's time for a break. Hot takes with the Murphman.
So sorry. All right, let's do this all over again. So you want to use LinkedIn as a way of meeting people and networking. Okay, it's real simple. Keep a Google Sheet with all your contacts. You know, I can tell you right now, having a list of everyone that you can actually sort it, you can do a search for it. It just makes it so much easier. You have contacts on your phone, right? If I want to reach someone for that, I put down what that person is on my phone. So, for example, I will put down lawyer Brian. I'll put Stream 915 Tony P. I'll put down MBR Joel or H string. I do that. So when I say, I need to reach out to MBR, I type in MBR on my phone and it brings up all the numbers that have MBR on it. Same thing with my Google Sheet. If I want to find someone who's an expert in counseling, marital counseling, family counseling, child counseling, whatever the case may be, I can search for them that way. It's like my own little database. And it makes things a lot easier to have it all in one sheet. Or you can use the Notion that also helps with that. We talked about that for several times as well. And you also want to be able to get, when you're thinking about technology, there are so many things you can use. You want something that is readily available that you can get to fairly quickly, okay? And you want to build a community and not just contacts. You want to have friends you can reach out to. You want to have friends that know what's going on with you. You want to have friends that you can turn to in times of need. Okay, that's the most important thing. Is as you're looking at all of this stuff, understand that you're spending time building a life, and you need support from friends and family. That support is so important. As a counselor, I can tell you right now, there's been some times where I've had situations that were like horrible. And every now and then I would text my boss and be like, "Hey, can I call you? I need to talk to you before I get home because this is just a horrible situation." And she would tell me, and she'd always say, "How does this happen to you? Like all these crazy things." I'm like, "It just does. It's the kind of people that get sent to me, And there's a few stories, but one of them that I thought was so funny. It wasn't funny because it was real life and death for this kid. But the father found 4 bricks of marijuana and he flushed them down the toilet. And his kid was suicidal. He was like, "I'm going to kill myself because like I owe money to the gang." And the father's like, "It's just marijuana. Just, don't worry about it." Not understanding that flushing down the bricks, he probably flushed about $10,000 of marijuana away after all said and done. And that kid was having to pay that money back. And, either you pay it or you die. And that's not funny, okay? But I said, one of the only things you can do here is you can become a state's witness and enter the witness protection program. And he's like, "Oh my God." So I call the FBI, right? And they send FBI agents to come talk to me. I forget to tell my boss the FBI is coming to talk to me, right? The FBI walks in, "We're here to see Sean Murphy." And they're like, "Who? Who are you?" And he's like, "FBI." So my secretary's like, "Let me get him for you, And she goes tells my boss, "FBI's here for Sean." And I wasn't there, so my secretary called me and said, "Hey, the FBI's here to see you." I said, "Yeah, I'm just 2 minutes away. They got there early." And my boss calls me, and she's like, "Why is the FBI here?" I'm like, "Don't worry, it's nothing to do with work per se." And I didn't want to go on and tell everybody this kid was going to enter witness protection or whatever they decided to do with him. They showed up at the El Paso Police Department. It was horrible. It's got so out of hand. Anyway, years later, I have a kid who was kidnapped and held against her will in Juarez for about 2 weeks. And she had a history of running away, right? So when I saw her, she's like, "Yeah, I usually run away, but this time it's different." And she tells me I was kidnapped and I was taken over there. I was abused. And I'm like, "Oh, this is human trafficking." So there I go, calling the FBI again, right? And the FBI shows up, and this time a detective shows up for the police department. He goes, "Wait a minute, I remember you. You're the guy with the marijuana." I'm like, "Yeah, that was me." And we started talking about that kid, and apparently he has some really good information, and he gave up information, right? But the FBI came to the office again, and my boss says, Sean, I've worked here 15, 20 years, whatever it was at the time. I've had the FBI here 3 times. 2 of them were because of you, and one was a different situation. And that situation was actually a Russian family that was con artists, and we had to call the FBI. That's a long story, but that didn't involve me. But yeah, things would always happen to me. And there was another time that we had a kid who ran away and came in to see us, and the guy doing the interview was like, what were you doing while you were on the streets? And she says, well, we were kidnapping babies from the illegal immigrants and killing them and sacrificing them to the devil. Well, this guy freaks out. He calls 911 and reports multiple murders, right? And I walk out of my office, and he's there, and my secretary's crying. And I'm like, what's going on? And he tells me, this girl has been out there killing babies. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, she's been killing babies. I was like, are you stupid? Like, you don't think that this would have made the news that babies were being kidnapped, right? And I call 911. I'm like, you can cancel everything. I said, there is no multiple murders here. As I'll explain it to the officer when he gets here. So the first officer gets there, asks for me, pulls me aside, and I tell him how stupid this situation was. And he was like, okay, this wasn't supposed to happen. All right. It was misinterpreted, whatever. But I want you to picture like the entire city was responding to the shelter because of this idiot. And I will call him out on this every time. I will never say his name. I will call him out on this every time because it was the stupidest decision he's ever made, in my opinion. And after that, I lost all respect for him. And he knows that. He knows where I stand with him. But, when you're looking at all these situations that happen to us, having that network of family and friends you can reach out to and talk to and get advice from is very important. Because as you're doing that, right, you have someone to turn to. You're not alone. If you're a counselor, you talk to your family about situations. You don't want to burden your wife with certain things. You don't want to tell them all the details, that you hear about every day. So it's good to have someone you can turn to and talk to. Build that network, make some friends, and use technology. COVID hit, and we did not have a way to socially interact. So we would all get on Zoom calls, right? That's how Zoom started. I had not heard of Zoom until COVID. I don't even know if it was around before COVID. I don't know if it was because of COVID it came around. But now, I teach online. I do everything online. And like I'm talking to you right now online, it's just the technology is there to have relationships with people, even if you cannot be in person. Yeah, we used to have phones, right? We could call anybody we want. Now we text them. No one ever talks on the phone, right? You need to have that human interaction. You want to talk to people face to face, have a network of people you can call, talk to people. Today I had a little crisis situation. I reached out to 2 of my friends. I said, I need to talk to both of you because I need to give you advice. I need advice from both of you for different situations, different portions of it, right? And they called me and we talked and I vented and everybody was happy, But having those people there to help me is so important. And I know they're there for me. And they know I'm there for them. So keep that in mind, all right? But I'll tell you what, before we wrap up, I want to go over the final burn real quick here. And let's hear what that is for today.
The final take from today's discussion is, networking isn't about collecting contacts. It's about building community. Be curious, be kind, and follow up. The last word is out. Murphman, sign it off.
Like we said, we're building a community here. It's not just a little contact and you're making this long list of people that you're trying to reach out to. This is actually something that we are trying to do, actively build a community, getting people to help us, getting people to talk to us. It's very, very important, you guys. So think about that. And if you have any email questions, feel free to email me. I'd be happy to answer those questions, and we can talk about it next week. Now, I will tell you this. Next week, we're going to be doing some changes here. So we're going to be recording again. Tomorrow, this is going to be a recorded show because we're going to be out there at the Shops at Solana doing the grand opening of the Stream 915 studios. But we're going to be remodeling the studio. You guys know we put it up, and we're not exactly happy with the way it is right now. Like, for example, behind me is just a black wall. We want to put some color. We want to do something with it. So the next couple of weeks might be a pre-recorded show. We don't know yet. It depends on how much we can get done. But I'll tell you real quick. Episode 33, which is next week, is resilience and adaptability, the learnable skills for navigating challenges. And I'll tell you right now that that's something that we definitely need to talk about. Episode 34 is going to be a digital life balance. Digital detox is so important, guys. Like this week, I was spring break. I went away for a staycation, hung around with the friends, and just rested. I did not do anything. And I was hardly on my phone. You know, I had friends trying to reach out to me, and I wasn't on my phone. I took a break. Episode 35, managing college stress and burnout. Yeah, that's going to be Connor's 1.5 months before school ends, or about a month. And yeah, we're going to be talking about that for sure. And then episode 36 is surviving final season, which falls in line with what we're talking about. So that's all I have for today. You guys, I'm the Murphman. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. I look forward to hearing from all of you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
That's a wrap on this episode. If you're looking for more, you can find all the best clips from the show on our social media pages. For all the links and more information about what we talked about today, visit purehottakes.com. And if you want to watch the full replay or get access to our premium content, subscribe now at stream915.com. We appreciate you tuning in.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.